Welcome councillors, officers and members of the public to the meeting of council. Can I remind you, please switch your mobile phones to silent. There are members of the public and press and officers attending this meeting virtually. Please can I ask those attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption to the meeting, and please, if you would like to speak, put an electronic hand up. This meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. Reminders for councillors: to ensure that those attending virtually can hear the proceedings and for the recording to capture the entire meeting, please ensure that you wait for the microphone and speak clearly into the microphone. Please remember it is a formal meeting and therefore do not refer to councillors or officers by their first names. When addressing council, please stand if you are able to do so. There is no fire alarm planned, therefore upon hearing a constant two-tone alarm, please leave the building via your nearest marked fire exit and make your way down the stairs to the nearest assembly point, which is the short stay car park. Lifts are not to be used. Please do not take time to pick up personal belongings and leave the building promptly. Office absence.
Thank you, Chair. We just received apologies for absence from Councillors Bell, Biederman, Denton, Hunt, Youssef, Maskell, Broom, Spear, Whitehead, Turton, Williams, Davies and Peter Lever. Councillors Bullard, Prowse and Milton are due to join the meeting virtually, however they're not able to take part in the voting, Chair. Thank you.
Item 2, to approve the correct record of the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of November 2024, pages 11 to 30. And I've seconded Councillor Norman. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 3, Chair's announcements. First of all, I would like to welcome Councillor Becky Coombs. Congratulations on being elected and welcome to your first full meeting of council. Just a reminder that I have a masquerade ball on the 8th of next month. We are rather short on numbers, so if anybody is able to make it, please could you let Lynn know as soon as possible, please. And the third item that I have is my normal one. We still have people who are behind on their box training. Please could you make sure it is up to date. Thank you. Item 4, business brought forward with or by consent of the chair. I have none. Item 5, replies to any questions submitted by the public. There is none. Item 6, to consider motions of which notice has been submitted by members. There is none. Item 7, declarations of interest.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Khan has declared other registrable interest in item 14 on the agenda, Chair. Thank you.
Item 8, Chair's replies to any questions to council members. None received. Item 9, to agree the agenda between Part A and Part B. There is no Part B. We go straight into Part A, and item 10, to welcome Louise, Fiona and Sarah from North Devon Plus.
Work. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for giving us some time today to give you an update on North Devon Plus. I'm aware that there are some newer council members since I probably did an update with North Devon Council, so I'm just going to give a quick overview of the organisation. I'm then going to hand over to Fiona and Sarah from the team to give you a bit of an update about a couple of projects that I think will be of interest to you. Okay, so for those of you that are not aware, sorry, North Devon Plus was established in 2008. It was via a merger of three existing organisations, the Enterprise Agency, Marketing Bureau and Exmoor Regen Company. In 2017, there was a restructure and North Devon Plus became a local authority owned business. So some of you may or may not be aware, we are owned 50-50 by North Devon and Torridge District Council. We're a not-for-profit organisation and we provide, well, our primary focus is adding value to the economic development aspirations and the economic development strategy across the area. Just to give you an overview of the people who are on our board and our structure, our chairman of the board is Alan Dykes, who is from the private sector. He is a representative from TDK Land Rover and Ilfracombe. We have two co-chief executives, one of which is Ken from North Devon Council and the other is Sean Kearney from Torridge District Council. We have an even spread of public sector directors and both of those, two of those come from North Devon and two come from Torridge. In terms of the North Devon representatives, we have Councillor David Clayton, who's due to join us shortly.
Yeah.
Hello, we haven't had a chance to meet yet. You're due to see us at the next meeting. Hello. And also Malcolm Prowse. I think Malcolm's online, been with us for a while. In addition to the other public sector directors, we've also got Tim Jones, who some of you may know from the South West Business Council, and also Mike Matthews from Linium Barnstable. So what do we do? For those of you who don't know, as I say, we're a not-for-profit organisation. We're a private and public partnership with a majority shareholding of NDC and TDC, as I mentioned. So in essence, what we try and do is support the economic development aspirations of the area. So we're offering several things, including business support, we do project management and delivery. We also do grant investment programmes. In addition, we have Fiona, who's recently joined the team. She's going to give you a presentation in a moment. She's our Clean Marine and Green Energy Project Officer. We're also offering agricultural support to farmers across Devon and also some in Cornwall. And we also do strategic support and bid writing. So just to give you a feel for the sort of scale of things that we do, since 2016, we've supported over 4,300 small businesses across North Devon and Torridge. We set up and managed and delivered over £12.3 million worth of funding, and we've assisted to create over 616 jobs. That's a little bit of background. I'm going to hand over now to Sarah Cahoon. She's working on the Future Farmer Resilience Programme. We thought with agriculture having been quite topical recently with council meetings, it would be good to give you an overview of the kind of things we're doing to support our local farmers. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we do from an agricultural point of view. Agricultural support is a really important part of our work at North Devon Plus. We have worked on programmes supporting farmers to the agricultural transition since the pilot programme with DEFRA in 2019 and through various other iterations of the programme, which you can see on the board. Currently, we are working on what we call the Future Farming Resilience 3 programme delivered for Devon County Council. We cover the whole of Devon and Cornwall together with our subcontractor, the DR company from Oakhampton. The agricultural transition sees a move away from direct payments to other kinds of funding over a 7-year period to 2027, when the basic payment scheme will be zero. A report commissioned by the Great South West Partnership estimated that up until 2020, Devon had £99.2 million per year coming in through the basic payment scheme, and that the total basic payment scheme amount lost from the rural economy of the Greater South West area will be over £883 million by the end of 2027. Since I started working for North Devon Plus when I joined in June last year, I have been helping farmers with the sustainable farming incentive scheme, which basically pays farmers to carry out actions that support both a sustainable farm business and therefore a resilient food supply chain, but also to create a healthy natural environment. It is intended in part to replace the basic payment scheme. We are supporting farmers to understand the programme as it is developed and also any new options as they are released. Alongside this, we help with information on other grant schemes that they can apply to, such as countryside stewardship, forestry grants, the capital grant scheme, but also other grant schemes, including equipment and technology fund. There are numerous grant schemes that they can apply for. We also signpost to other projects being run in their area. For example, projects run by the West Country Rivers Trust and Devon Wildlife Trust that will provide them with additional advice and funding. As well as grant funding, farmers need help from lots of other sources. So, for example, they look for support from the agricultural support charities such as the Farming Community Network and the Royal Agricultural Benevolent Institution. These two together can provide help with financial, emotional, and also very importantly, mental health support if needed. We also quite commonly provide regulation guidance on reducing pollution risk to meet compliance standards. This is very important in the dairy sector, and also a lot of our work is closely related with the Environment Agency to help this run smoothly. We also help with farm diversification projects through initiatives such as the North Devon Plus Boost programme and farmer training. So again, farmers can provide alternative income streams to supplement the farm income. And very importantly, we're beginning to liaise a lot more with the planning departments of both Torridge and North Devon Council, because this is really important and it stops the farmers' grants from going through. So we do have, that is an important part of our work. We have worked with an impressive total of 603 farming businesses, 478 in Devon and 125 in Cornwall, providing 4,534 hours of essential support since October 2022. It's clear that a lot of farmers need help with navigating the complex changes that are coming their way over the next few years. Once the FFR project finishes in March this year, we are hoping to continue working with the local farmers in the Torridge and North Devon areas with support from both the Torridge and North Devon councils, as there is still a vital need for our services due to the ever-changing agricultural rules and regulations. We would like to develop even stronger links with the local branches of the national farming organisations, such as the National Farmers Union, the Country Land and Business Association, and also the Tenant Farmers Association, and hopefully to continue to work closely with the Environment Agency. We would also like to be able to offer and to develop some commercial services alongside our advisory work. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm just going to hand over to Fiona now. She'll explain all about her project.
Make it. Hi, can everyone hear me? Hello. So I'm Fiona Henderson. I am the Clean Maritime and Green Energy Officer at North Devon Plus, and my remit covers North Devon and Torridge. I work very closely with the officers at North Devon Council, and hopefully you'll recognise this cover of this document. This was signed off by the council in July 2024, and this really sets out my role. So these are the key 5 growth areas that we've identified in this growth, clean maritime growth vision. And I could go through each of these individually, but I think we'll be here all night, and I'll try. I've been given 5 minutes, so I'll try and keep it quick. These are the key areas that we think there will be growth in this area in terms of jobs and for the local economy. But how do we get there? So I thought in reality what I would do is draw upon the two key strands that run through these elements. Firstly, business development, and secondly, skills and jobs. As we know in this area, the retention of young people is a real challenge. Economic activity tends to be high, but wages are low. So identifying key areas and how we can raise those wages and provide skilled jobs is key. So what we're doing in terms of business development, how do we encourage existing businesses? We've got great businesses here in the manufacturing industries. How do we know, how do we encourage them to adapt, support these growth areas? And this can be from green hydrogen, floating offshore wind, across the board. We have set up the North Devon and Torridge Maritime Network as a way of raising awareness, encouraging collaboration and innovation. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. In addition to supporting those existing businesses, what we're really looking to do is inward investment, is driving new businesses to the area. So looking to build upon the Appledore Clean Maritime Innovation Centre, which has received planning and is due to be constructed this year. We're looking at what other areas we can enhance these features in North Devon, whether they be manufacturing facilities or enterprise areas. Also spatial planning. Where do we need to make room for this growth? You know, working with a local plan, ensuring that developers know where they can come to and what infrastructure is required. Finally, skills. Looking to the future, the Southwest faces a real shortage in terms of technical and engineering skills, particularly in the clean maritime and green energy sectors. Identifying the future jobs, the skill requirements and training pathways in key growth sectors is crucial in order to know where we go from here. So I'm working with Devon County Council, Cornwall Council and others to identify those skills. One of these is part of the Green Hydrogen Route Map, which is looking at the potential for green hydrogen in this area, looking at the potential supply and demand, and identifying what skills are needed as part of that. But also what's really important is raising awareness and understanding of this sector, right from primary school to secondary and up through further education, higher education. And we're working with Petroc and schools to create STEM and maritime and green energy events. So, I mentioned the North Devon and Torridge Maritime Network. For those of you that can see the screen, I've put a few photos of our last event. This was held in Appledore. And as you can see, some brave folks went for a swim. But it's just a great way of bringing together local businesses, research institutions, and the education sector to come together to discuss clean maritime and green energy. We have a fantastic array of businesses that come, and it really shows that the local businesses are keen to invest their time and effort into this subject. In this event, we had talks from the University of Plymouth, from the Crown Estate, and we also held a Lego robotic challenge. The next event will be held at the North Devon Yacht Club next month, and if anyone's interested, you're all welcome to join. But please do let me know. I've provided my email address there.
If anybody has any questions for North Devon Plus, if you would like to present them and we will see if they can be answered. If not, we can write them down and take them away and answer them over the next couple of days. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? That's the lever.
Thank you.
really quick question. Sorry. Sorry. Shall I just speak loudly? No, that's all right. No, just pick up the recording, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Really quick question for North Devon Plus, which was funding, about funding running out at the end of March this year. How are things looking after March? And then I suppose a question for us in terms of the planning and making sure that I have absolutely 100% confidence that there are conversations taking place between our planning department and you guys about the green hydrogen corridors and so on and so forth. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I can certainly answer the first one, Councillor Lee, but in terms of funding, we are talking with both North Devon and Torridge at the moment with regards to whether there is some potential funding to continue with at least some of our projects under the UK Shared Prosperity funding. Ken, I don't want to put you on the spot. Is there anything you want to add to that at this stage in terms of process? Or
Members will recall that we talked about the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and the fact that there was another allocation for a further year for 25-26. Arrangements for how that money will be spent will come to members eventually. We are having discussions at the moment because that fund will actually go to the County Combined Authority this year, but with a recommendation that it be divided up and sent back to the districts as in previous years. The allocation that we're going to receive both in Torridge and in North Devon is substantially lower than previous years, unfortunately. But as Louisa said, a key component of our SPF response for the last 2 years was the boost fund that North Devon Plus have been delivering for us, that business support fund. And so it'll be for members to decide eventually whether an element of that SPF for the coming year can be allocated to that. But that will probably form part of the recommendations. So we are looking at that now and having discussions with the County Combined Authority about how much our allocation will be and whether there are any constraints on spend.
I'm so sorry, I can't answer the second bit about green hydrogen because I've lost Fiona from the room because I'm expert. But is it possible to take a note of that and we'll come back to you, Councillor Lever, in terms of that second part around planning? Okay.
I can briefly say that there is close cooperation between the local plans teams and also Fiona, and the local plans teams are well aware of those opportunities around green hydrogen and clean maritime, and they will be taken into account as part of the local plan process as well.
That's all I need. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Ward, begin.
Thank you. If I do my maths correct, you're helping 478 farmers or farms in Devon. I just wondered what proportion was in Torridge and North Devon of that, if you happen to know, but Sarah's not here now. Do we know how many roughly are missing out? Because the grant situation seems to be extremely complicated now compared to what it was in the past. If you're not helping, and perhaps the NFU are helping a bit, but it is a worry, not just with grants, but also with what's happened in the last budget, which I won't go into because that will open a can of worms. But I am very concerned about a lot of our farms at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the number of farms across North Devon and Torridge, I could have a look at that for you. But the way that the contract runs for Future Farming Resilience is that we are contracted by Devon County and we run that programme across the county of Devon, which we're required to do as part of that contract. But I could probably tease out the stats for you in terms of the North Devon and Torridge farms. We can certainly have a look at that. It's unfortunate Sarah's not here because she would give you an on-the-ground view, but we have certainly found that farmers are finding things incredibly complex because of the reduction in their basic payment scheme, there is so many different incentives that are now in front of people. So you've got sustainable farming incentive, and I think, if I'm right in saying, I think there was at least 30 or 40 initial markers under the sustainable farming incentive that farmers could apply for. And it's incredibly complex. So what our advisors have been doing is they've been going out on farm, they've been walking the farm fields, and they've been going through the sustainable farming incentive elements, if you like, to try and speak with that farmer and have a dialogue to get them to understand how they can maximise the applications that they put in under the incentive. But you're right, it's incredibly complicated. And not only is there a sustainable farming incentive, there's also a number of different initiatives for higher level stewardship, countryside stewardship, there is the Farm Technology Fund. So it's incredibly difficult for farmers that are very busy on a day-to-day basis farming to almost keep up to be a full-time administrator, to actually understand all of these schemes, to maximise the schemes and to claim for them. And hopefully that's something that we're helping them and supporting them with at the moment. But you're right, it certainly isn't getting any easier.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yes.
So, can I just say, as a co-chief executive of the company, yeah, I'm bound to say it, I guess, but you know, they do a fantastic job. The team, it's a small team, and you saw some of the statistics here tonight about the number of businesses that they've supported, and I see some of the feedback that they get from those businesses, the positive feedback, and it's all brilliant. You know, they don't get any negative feedback from these companies. They've got other programs that they've developed themselves to support businesses actually get off the ground, and that's been successful as well. And most important thing to get across to you guys is that this is your company. It's jointly owned by the district council, and it's out there delivering much needed business support for your local businesses. So I think it's to be congratulated. Fiona, I'm sure, will be fine. I've always said you're a scary bunch to come into. I didn't realise it was that scary. But in all seriousness, you know, it's a great company. It's a great company. It's fantastic. There's a district council, 2 district councils. We are maintaining this service because it's pretty unique across the county. There aren't any other district councils that have this type of service that's been delivered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And can I just say thank you very much for coming in and presenting, and I really do hope that Fiona's feeling nice.
Lovely. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thanks.
Item 11, report by the Leader of the Council, pages 31 to 32 of your agenda. Do we have any questions? Yes, Laura.
It's not so much a question, well, partly it is. I'm just delighted that the leader and deputy are actually going to a lot of our parishes, and I was speaking with the parish councils, and I think this is going to be extremely important in the future, not just because of our relationship with the parish councils, but also over local government reorganisation. It's going to be extremely important. So I hope that our leader and deputy will continue the good work that they're doing. Thank you.
That's Clayton.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to say a few words of introduction, actually, but I'll take the report as read and thank Councillor Worden for his comments. Yeah, I think it's very important that we do this. We're down to speak with Swimbridge fairly soon. We had to cancel that last Thursday, but I think it's now been rearranged for next week. Unfortunately, I've been up in Oldham the last 3 days at a funeral again, and Councillor Lever went to Braunton. I was supposed to be going with him last night. I've not actually had a chance to catch up with how it went, but I'm sure it will have gone well. And the feedback we're getting from the parishes is that they welcome, and it's good to be able to put a face to a name for them. But the importance, as you say, Councillor Worden, of the parishes and their input into what is going to be a very difficult 12 months of constitutional local government reform, which I've alluded to in the report as being a very fast-paced environment. I was glad that so many councillors from here came last Thursday to the special meeting. And just as an update, we have now got this working party in place for this coming Friday at 12 o'clock. We have 6 members, and I know there's been one or two, well, why we only have got 6. We had 6 because I thought that would be a more manageable group. It's not to say that everybody else is being excluded. I'm sure once we've had our first initial meeting on Friday, we will be able to open it up. So hopefully we'll get minutes out to everybody as to what we decided. But initially it'll just be, seeing where we are, where we're up to with it. It's all as clear as mud. It's a bit like the weather outside and the fog. Remember, the Labour government has introduced this. It had no manifesto commitment from it. It wasn't in that manifesto. This has all been on the hoof, really, perhaps to divert from other things. And it is a bit of a shambles the way it's been organised, and we've got to make the best of it for North Devon residents. And that means us coming up with what we think, because there's going to be no doubt about it, unitaries are going to come in. It's the shape and form, and the best thing that we can do is to get together and produce what we think will be the best fit for North Devon. It's not going to be party political, hopefully, so there won't be any votes in this working group, but hopefully we can get on and get on with that starting on Friday. But we will endeavour to keep all councillors informed. I'm sure if people want to come along to the meetings in time, we'll just have to see how that fits in, but I'm sure that will be the case. It's just a matter of managing that as best we can, really. I was going to also echo the comments from Councillor Walker in welcoming Councillor Becky Coombs, who I've only got to know over the last few weeks during the campaign. It was a clean, honest campaign fought by all the parties in a very wet, windy, snowy period, festive period. So canvassing and literature production. I've never been involved in a by-election that close to Christmas before. It was the only one that was on across the whole United Kingdom. But absolutely fantastic win for you, and I'm sure that you will be a brilliant representative for Instow from what I've seen so far. So good luck, and I hope you find it's a friendly bunch here, and you can do the best you can. Has that answered your? I can't remember the way you said Councillor Word, and I apologise.
You can answer that.
And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Do we have any other questions for Councillor Clayton? No, in that case, can we just move to note that report? Item 12, questions by members. There are none. Item 13, lead members' reports. Unfortunately, both the lead members who produced the reports are not here this evening, but we can take any questions and try our best to respond to them. Thank you. So the first one is the lead member for waste and recycling, which is pages 33 to 34 of your packs. Do we have any questions? Councillor Cramp.
Less of a question, really. It's just more of an observation. It seems a shame for this thing that the furniture has got to be separated before it's taken to Exeter and tipped back in the same skip again. I don't know if we can make a rule. But as a result of that, we've lost the plastic recycling facility. I assumed Barnsley would have been chosen because it had enough room to have an additional skip, but it appears they've had to sacrifice a skip to allow this scheme to go ahead. Disappointed. It's an observation. Does the chair agree with me that it's disappointing? There you go.
I do. Yes. Any other questions? Councillor Jones.
Statement, not question, just to say. I just want to say, as a councillor that had some challenges last year with recycling, it's impressive to see dramatic improvements that shown in the statistics. So a big thank you to everyone that's been involved in that, and all those in those teams that have brought those improvements. Thank
you. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Chair. Just to record my thanks for this, Councillor Holmes putting this together. One observation, and I've said this for some time now, is about our recycling rates. I do think that as a council, we can do better, and we need to perhaps prioritise that in the next 12 months. I know there's a report coming by Mark, hopefully to the next SNR committee in February, or if not March, and I do hope that we can all give the impetus to this. It's going to be some hard decisions. I mean, I'm not saying about we have to go to 3 weekly, 4 weekly pit schemes, but there's perhaps better ways and more manageable ways of increasing the actual recycling that we do. And I think we've all got an onus to do that because it's a very green initiative that we can do. So hopefully they'll be using that in the near future. But again, thanks to Councillor Hunt for everything she's done there.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to sound like a stuck record, and following on from what Councillor Clayton has just said, Tetra Packs, they are key. It would be wonderful if we could recycle them. I understand the reasons we don't at the moment, but if with so much change happening in the next couple of years, it would be nice to keep our mind on this one very large part of our landfill waste that we don't recycle, but we could if we had the opportunity.
If I just pass to Franks.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If I can just come back on a couple of points. First of all, Councillor Clayton, totally right. In terms of improving our recycling rate over the coming months and years, the first stage was obviously the investment in the infrastructure. So obviously the significant investment that you've approved, which obviously is the project that's happening in the process hall, the improved baler equipment, and obviously that means the baling of recycling material can happen a lot quicker and more efficiently, 6 times faster than it happened previously. So that creates the capacity in the process hall to then take on more volume of material and hopefully increase those recycling rates further. In terms of the other changes going forwards, obviously the government announced simpler recycling reforms. That's around separation of materials, collecting materials separately. The council were quite forward thinking and actually invested in a lot of the vehicles and equipment up front, and we're already collecting separately a lot of those materials already. So the quality of the recycling going through the baler should hopefully improve our recycling quality and the price we get for those materials as well. So hopefully we'll see improved recycling and improved recycling rates on the back of those changes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. If we could just note that report, and thanks to Councillor Hunt for producing it. Item 30B is report by the lead member for regeneration, which is pages 35 to 38 reports. Do we have any questions? Councillor Petrinos.
I just wanted to comment on the breadth of this portfolio, which seems to be much greater than any of the others, because it has a whole range of different strands, all of which seem to be going rather well, apart from when it comes to people creating a new MPPF. So I think it's really encouraging to see the sort of activity that's taking place and how it's making things better for people in North Devon.
Councillor Warden.
Sorry, I was just looking at Councillor.
Oh, right, Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Farrell says in his opening statement, he says, I regard myself as being very lucky to have held this portfolio across the last 6 years. Well, yes, he can regard himself as being very lucky, but I think we as a council are very lucky to have him in place as a portfolio holder. I can't think of anybody else who's more experienced and better placed to be the portfolio holder for regeneration and economic development in North Devon. I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think it's on all of us to get over what he's doing, whether it be in Barnstaple or Ilfracombe or South Molton. The impact that he is having and the officers under him are having in developing Devon. It's not an easy task, as Councillor Petrina has said. It's a wide-ranging, comprehensive portfolio. And I'd like to say thank you again to Councillor Prowers for the work he's done. And this is the first of his portfolio reports. And I hope that, I mean, it was a bit of an experimental thing, these portfolio reports, and coming to council, but I hope by doing them, you're all getting a much more firmer grasp of what's going on in those different portfolios, because it's not easy if a councillor is not involved directly day to day. And sometimes portfolio holders or deputy leader or leader, it's easier for us to know what's going on, and perhaps we don't communicate as clearly as we could do to individual members. And that's something we're hoping to resolve and keep on working on. We will never get it perfect, but I think it is improving, and Councillor Prowse's efforts here I think is good proof of that, to be honest. So thank you, Councillor Prowse.
Councillor Crabbe.
Sorry, this is a question.
Sorry, Councillor Crabbe, could you stand up, please?
Oh, yes, of course. Good gracious. This is actually a question. It's a shame on video. I don't know if the John or sorry, the chief executive or SJ perhaps even might be able to answer. If the best we've ever done was 800 houses, and we're now told by diktat that we must generate 1,329, we have to probably accept the possibility that we're not going to do that. If we don't do that, what's the downside? What's going to happen? I mean, is Miss Rayner going to come down the M5 swinging some sort of scimitar or something, or do we know what other options are available?
So I don't know whether SJ wants to come in with any other information, but government has talked about intervening in planning, both the planning and district councils. And I think one of the areas where they've talked about that is if housing targets are not being met. But I think further information on that is due to come at some stage in the future. That'd be accurate. So Jane?
Yes, that's accurate. And we'll update members as soon as we can.
Because Council 1,300 ever been improved, so you can give as many permissions as you like, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's also best to point out that I think there was a recent press inquiry and there was a press story about the number of houses that are still in the system, if you like, that have had permissions issued in North Devon and haven't yet been built. I think it was something like around 2,000. So because we're measured on how many houses are built, we will always be at the mercy of developers coming forward or not coming forward. And that's the real issue for district councils such as ourselves. It's difficult.
Sarah Jane, do you want to speak?
No, I think Ken's covered it. Thank you, Councillor Walker. I think it is also what the market can tolerate, and that's also what the developers are telling us.
Councillor Lever.
Thank you. I just sorry. No. Thank you. I would just actually like to ask Councillor Crabbe to withdraw the comment about waving scimitars and so on and so forth. I know it's said in jest about Deputy Prime Minister, but it isn't appropriate in a council meeting. It's not appropriate for any of us to talk about violence, whether in jest or not. I would really appreciate it if perhaps Councillor Crabbe could modify his language appropriately. Thank you.
Bear it in mind next time.
Thank you, Councillor Crabbe. Any more questions? Okay, that one is to note. Thank you very much. Item 14, Pannier Market Public Spaces Protection Order.
Yes, that one.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, councillors. So you've got a report in front of you regarding doing a further order for regards to the Pannier Market. So you will all be aware that the Pannier Market has a public right of way that runs through the middle of it. In the past, that has attracted antisocial behaviour in the evening. So as a council, we have previously had 3 public space protection orders in place under the Antisocial Policing and Crime Act 2014. So 3 previous ones. The current one is due to expire on the 31st of January 2025. So the report in front of you is to consider making a further order for another 3 years. Due to the order is as previous, apart from a slight amendment around times. So currently the order allows us to lock the Pannier Market at 6 o'clock at night, reopen it at 5 o'clock the following morning. We have, since we returned to the market following the refurbishment in August 2023, there have been a number of antisocial behaviour instances in early hours of the morning. So there is a slight amendment proposed to those times within the report. So that's changing that from a 5 o'clock opening to a 7:30 opening in the morning. As you would expect, the Act requires us to carry out statutory duties, which include consultation. That has taken place, so we carried out public consultation for 7 weeks, using a whole variety of methods, notices in the Pannier Market, social media, online surveys, paper surveys were available, also letters to key stakeholders and everybody in the area. 47 responses were received, 85% of those in favour of the order. In terms of the people that didn't support it, which I think was 6, those comments were largely around, actually this is a police responsibility, there were comments around access to the toilets. However, we have always said that the toilets in the Pannier Market are open when the market is open. And the other one, we have had some correspondence from one objector who questions the process that we've gone through. We would say that we have followed due process and it is a lawful process, but also questions that there isn't enough evidence to justify the change in times. Thinks that is a creeping kind of the justification, if you like, because actually the highway would be closed more than it is open. So that is something for you as members to consider. But otherwise, the recommendation is in front of you, along with the quality impact assessment. Happy to take any questions.
Have Councillor Lovren who wishes to speak.
So, as the Pilton and Yeovil Ward councillor, I've received a complaint from a gentleman, not very nice, who has informed me that he's also involved the chief executive and the leader of the council. Following on from his complaint, I would like to, after reading the evidence of the 85% agreement, propose that we, I'll just read his wording here, that propose to make the public space protection order in relation to the Pannier Market, and I'm happy to debate this item. As complained that we will not be debating this item, which I think we should.
Does the chief executive to respond, please?
If I may, I mean, obviously, I'm aware of the complaint that's been made, and that was made in relation to an incident over Christmas when the Pannier Market wasn't opened up at the right time. So that's been dealt with. That's a separate issue. And it's entirely separate to the PSPO that we're debating today. And it is here for you to debate. So it is open for members to discuss it, debate it, and take a decision.
Do we have anybody who would like to continue the debate? Councillor Graham.
No, I think it's all right. Just a serious question. The 5 o'clock start, which is the only thing that would be remotely contentious, as a 7:30, whatever this. You're content with the evidence you've got. There was an issue. You can back that up with evidence. Box ticked, happy days, yes?
Yeah, so as set out in Appendix E of your report, so I think there were 9 instances since August. For me, justified number. That is for you to debate as to whether you think that is justification. But yes, there have been instances of that in that time in the morning. I can't. It's difficult to say what way you want to put that. I am happy with the evidence as presented to you in Appendix E.
Councillor Norman.
Thank you, Chair. A question perhaps is more about longer term. We've proposed 3 or 4 times to close it for 2 or 3 years. How complex is it to permanently close this? We've heard about devolution coming this way. Maybe harder in future to make these decisions. Is it a very, very complex process? But it could be achieved in a couple of years.
My understanding it is a very complicated process. We have looked at it previously. At that stage, we didn't feel that it was going to be something we could achieve. Hence why we used the ability under the Act. We did look at alternatives as part of the future High Street Fund, whether there were alternatives we could look at. In all honesty, at the moment, there are no obvious ones to us. I would have to revert probably to County Council Highway in terms of the process of permanently closing a public right of way. I'm not up to speed with that legislation, but we have always considered it to be difficult.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to take part in this debate?
In the interest of having a debate, it appears to be an eminently sensible policy that has been successful for a number of years, and we'd be happy to renew the policy on 2 occasions, and not to predispose this decision, probably will again. Following on from Councillor Norman's point about permanent closing it, that may well be quite difficult. We are applying for a temporary closure. What would the limitation, are we able to look into what the limitations on temporary could constitute so that we can, maybe not be renewing this every other year?
We can certainly investigate what the legal avenues are available to us to consider.
Very much. Could I have a proposer to Councillor Norman's proposed and seconder Councillor Crabb? Thank you very much. All those in favour to introduce Nicholas Pio? Thank you. Thank you very much. Could somebody else come back into this? There are no suggestions. Sorry, there are no votes against. I thought it was unanimous. So Item 15, council tax base 2025 to 2026. I'll pass you over to John Harris.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is the annual council tax base setting, which is not the formal setting of the council tax itself. That will come next month at full council. This is the setting of the average number of properties and average number of Band D properties that we use to set the council tax that will form part of the budget. The council tax base in front of you for 25-26 is set out at 37,670.43 Band D equivalent properties. That's an increase compared to this time last year from the tax base of just over 35,000 of 6.31%. Quite a significant increase from the tax base last year, and a larger portion of that, about 4.5% of that, equates to the second home premium on the second home's council tax. That increases the tax base, which ultimately then increases the amount of council tax that is then charged. The annual growth from the general tax base is increased by 1.72%. An additional 605 properties. Last year, the increase was 488 properties. All new builds have been monitored, and the estimated number of new properties added this year, 250, and the team are up to date with new property monitoring. In terms of the council tax reduction scheme that forms part of the tax base that's in front of you, there's been very little change in the actual number of the equivalent dwellings from last year, but we have made an adjustment of 1% in terms of any growth in the number of applicants for council tax support,
and that's been built into the tax base for next year. The council tax reduction scheme was approved at Strategy and Resources Committee last week, and that will come forwards to full council as well. But there's been no planned change to the scheme for 25-26, hence the minimal change in terms of tax base adjustments. In terms of the collection rates for the tax base, the last couple of years collection rates have been 2022-23 just over 97%, 97.24%, and last year 96.98%. So we're proposing to keep the budgeted tax base of 97.5%. So there is that targeted collection rate, and then we'll review it again this time next year. Finally, in relation to the premium for Class B second home properties, as members will recall, the legislation has been changed to allow the council tax premium to be charged against second home properties effective from the 1st of April 2025. There are some exceptions to that charge, for example, where there are properties that are being actively marketed for sale, are undergoing major structural repairs while waiting probate decisions. In addition to that, a second home that has a planning restriction that prevents all year round occupancy will also not be subject to the second home premium. So that is all set out in the legislation. The estimated number of increased tax base for the second home council tax has been factored into the tax base calculation, but we have reduced it by 15% to take account of those potential exceptions coming forwards. So members, the tax base is set out in your report. The detail behind it sits on page 65 at 37,670.43, and the recommendations in 2.1 and 2.2 on page 63. And I'm taking questions, Jed.
Do we have any questions? Councillor Lane.
Can I order declare an interest?
Councillor Lane, there's no need for you to declare an interest. This is just for the council tax base. Councillor Walton.
Chair, Councillor Lane can declare an interest just for transparency.
I think I'll declare an interest because I own property.
I was just going to move the report because I don't think there's anything contentious really in this. We'll have the big debate, of course, at the next meeting. Thank you.
We have move and seconder. All those in favour? Against? Abstention. Okay, item 60, North Devon Council off-street parking places order 2025.
Thank you, Chair. Members will recall that the car park working group be formed following the Strategy and Resources meeting in July 2024, after the members approved the North Devon Council car park strategy. Group leaders selected cross-party members to form that group, and 3 workshops were held through October, November and December. That workshop looked at a range of data around car park permits, income levels, payment methods and how they've changed over the years, charges that we currently charge in our car park, and also comparative data with other car parks in the district. Data on the 30-minute introduction charge that was introduced a couple of years ago, and how that compared to the previous 1-hour usage and the impact that had. And the focus was putting forwards options for consideration by Strategy and Resources and Policy and Development, and then onto this meeting this evening. So the report in front of you has been considered by Strategy and Resources and Policy and Development, and the minute extracts are included in your agenda pack this evening, both recommending as set out in the agenda papers, and those minutes, as I said, are on your agenda papers for your consideration this evening. The report itself is set out on pages 67 to 71 and sets out the proposals for the off-street parking order that have been requested by 10 councils, and also the proposals following the cross-party working group for the North Devon Council owned car parks. These are all within the detailed off-street parking order that's on pages 73 to 170. There's around 100 pages, and that sets out the detail beneath every car park and also the associated permits. However, a summary of the North Devon Council proposed charges, for simplicity, are shown in Appendix B in your report pack on pages 171 to 174, over 4 pages. The proposed charges that have been approved by Strategy and Resources and onto Policy Development, who've endorsed those recommendations, still set out charges that are cheaper than our neighbouring local authorities. For example, in our neighbouring authority in Torridge, the main town centre car parks this year are currently £1.50 per hour, and the coastal car parks £1.70 per hour. Those charges for North Devon Council car parks, including the 10p increase for next year, still keeps those charges 10 pence cheaper than the neighbouring authorities. Similarly, in Mid Devon, the Market Town car park is £1.60 an hour as well. The recommendations from Strategy, Resources and Policy Development are in front of you, and they are for your consideration this evening under items A and under items B. At the Strategy and Resources Committee, Councillor Crabb raised a query around the Rokebury Road car park, and that's also been considered by Ilfracombe Town Council since the Strategy and Resources Committee. The proposal in the original off-street parking order had it being reduced to £1.40 an hour and 80 pence per hour in the winter. Following Strategy and Resources consideration of the North Devon Council owned car parks, Ilfracombe Town Council have now reconsidered that car park and want to revert it back to £1.50 an hour in the summer, 90 pence per hour in the winter, with an auto charge in the winter of £3.50. Similarly, incorporating the motorhome charge of £15 for 24-hour stay and the weekly ticket charge at £56 per week, and also in line with the report, removing the designation N10 for no sleeping, so that doesn't affect the motorhome users. So those changes to the off-street parking order are proposed this evening for your consideration to add to the recommendations that are in front of you, and they've been endorsed at Ilfracombe Town Council meeting this week, and obviously are an amendment to the off-street parking order that's in front of you for this evening. A final version of the off-street parking order has been added to your agenda pack this evening as an addendum that includes those changes to Rokebury Road car park, and they are included in your report pack as well. So members, that concludes the summary of the changes to off-street parking order. The recommendations are as per the report, with that associated change to Rokebury Road car park, as I've alluded to. Happy to take any questions. You have the minute extracts under item A to consider from Policy and Development, Councillor Trinos, and item B from Councillor Clayton from Strategy and Resources. And happy to take any questions from them, Chair.
Do we have any questions? Okay, are we happy to move the minutes of the report on from Policy and Development, Strategy and Resources as mentioned?
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Tate, did you have a question?
The questions and comments. Can I just say a big thank you to all those members of the town group and also Councillor Street.
And also to John Trigg and the officers for putting this forward. It's not easy one to put forward this. But big thank you to all those members who served on the car park working group from July onwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Layton.
I believe it's proper for me to commend the recommendation of Policy and Development, which you'll find appended, and entirely in accordance with the Strategy and Resources recommendation.
Strategy and Resources recommendation. Can I have a mover for to adopt the recommendations of the committee? Sorry, can I have a mover to adopt the recommendations of Councillor Lever and seconder Councillor Howell both. All those in favour? All those against? Councillor Knight, are you against or any abstentions? Councillor Jones, sorry. Thank you very much. Item 17, yeah, item 17, the proposed committee timetable of meetings for 2025 to 26.
Thank you, Chair. So the report before you members outlines the basic principles for scheduling council and committee meetings and recommends a timetable for 2025-26. Paragraph 4 of the report sets out the principles for scheduling meetings, which are the same as the current year, with the exception of the Ilfracombe Harbour Board, which is now proposed to be scheduled on the second Tuesday of the month. Chairs and vice chairs of committees have all been consulted. The Licensing and Community Safety Committee at its meeting on the 10th of December recommended the approval of the proposed dates. The scheduling timetables of Devon County Council next for National Park Authority, having consulted the preparation of the timetable. Therefore, council has recommended to adopt the timetable of council and committee meetings for 2025-26 as detailed in Appendix A of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, can we have a mover, please, on for that one? Councillor Trina Nelson move, and Councillor Morgan second. All those in favour? Against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Item 18, an amendment to Annex 2 to Part 3 of the Constitution. I pass over to.
Thank you, Chair. So this report seeks a minor change to the delegated powers given to the chief executive in the Constitution. The purpose is to allow the chief executive to approve early retirement applications where there is a small cost, but these small costs are offset by any changes within the service, resulting in no overall net cost to the council. With the wording to be added to the Constitution being that such net cost would be calculated over the following 6 months from the applicable date. So currently the chief executive can only approve early retirement if there is no net cost at all, with anything else being reserved to governance committee. Allowing this change means the chief executive will be able to immediately approve such applications where appropriate, realising savings earlier. So any questions on that? Otherwise, thank you, Jen.
Do we have any questions on that? Councillor Lane and Camden.
Can you just identify what you class as small costs? That could be 6 months' wages.
So it's the wording is so no net cost calculated over 6 months. So it would be no cost, but so within 6 months it would be nil cost to the council if that makes sense. So it effectively is cost neutral still. It's just changing what cost neutral means because it's over 6 months rather than instantly. If that makes sense.
Can I just say that? Could I just say that could mean that it was if the job was that wasn't available.
Sorry, come up with the microphone.
Does that mean that if that job's not available anymore, you could allow somebody to go 6 months prior, and basically it could be 6 months' wages. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Just to clarify, so obviously at the moment, when somebody flexibly retires or early retires, there often are structural changes that bring about net savings to the authority. There are occasions when there might be a very small pension strain cost. Sometimes that might be £50, might be a few £100, might be a couple of thousand. Those applications, because there is a small net cost, would still need to come to governance committee. Sometimes that may take 2-3 months to come along, in which case those net savings aren't realised earlier. Whereas actually, if those decisions can be made for those small costs to be incurred, and that can be delegated to chief executive, those decisions can be made a lot prompter, in which case the changes can be made earlier, the savings to the authority can be made. The reason we put it in there following 6 months for the applicable date is to make sure that those savings cover that small net cost at least within the 6 months. Anything over that date would obviously then still need to come back to governance committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Crabb, did you still want to speak?
Yeah, I think
Do we have any more questions? No. Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Norman, seconder, Councillor Tops. All those in favour? Against? Any abstentions? Item 19, outside body appointments. Okay, so item A is recommendation for the Devon Housing Task Force, which Devon and Torbay Housing Advisory Group, to consider the appointment of a member to the Devon Housing Task Force, Devon and Torbay Housing Advisory Group for the life of the council, and that attendance at meetings be an approved duty. It's recommended that Councillor Bell, lead member for housing, be appointed to the Devon Housing Task Force, Devon and Torbay Housing Advisory Group for the life of the council, and that attendance to meeting be an approved duty. Do I have a mover for this one, please? Councillor Tobbs, and seconded Councillor Morgan. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Abstain? Okay. And item B is very similar. This is the Devon and Torbay Combined Authority Scrutiny Committee, which I think is a very important role. To consider the appointment of the member to the Devon and Torbay Combined Authority Scrutiny Committee for the life of the council and attendance at meetings to be an approved duty. It's recommended that Councillor Clayton, leader of the council, be appointed to the Devon and Torbay Combined Authority Scrutiny Committee for the life of the council and that attendance at meetings be an approved duty. Do I have a mover? Councillor York, seconder, Councillor Lever. All those in favour? Against? Abstain. Okay. Councillor Crowd.
Regarding point A, and I think this depends on what aspect the housing is involved. I don't know, is there any mileage is there any mileage in appointing Malcolm as a deputy? Because if it's talking about numbers and strategy, he might be better placed, or am I talking nonsense? I don't know the nature of the meetings, I don't know.
The advisory group, some time ago, the Devon districts set up a Devon Housing Task Force, and that group was instrumental in getting the Devon Housing Commission up and running. That report's now been issued. This group, or the Devon Housing Task Force, is now going to morph into an advisory group sitting below the County Combined Authority. So the County Combined Authority has been set up with a number of different advisory groups, one on business, one on skills, one on housing, and a couple of other ones as well, on investments and so on. And that's what this group is going to do. It's not going to be looking at overall numbers of housing in the North Devon area and Torridge area. That's going to be down to the Joint Planning Policy Committee and picking sites, etc. What this will be doing is looking at things like funding coming through from Homes England, and looking at sort of strategic allocations across the county. I'm sure we can look to see whether substitutes are permitted. I can't recall off the top of my head whether substitutes are permitted, but if they are, then what we can do is bring another report back to members to see whether members wish to appoint a substitute against the ban.
Item 20, minutes of committees. As long can we take these on block, please? And do we have any questions? There are recommendations in these minutes. Does anybody have what we should discuss these recommendations? Fantastic. Okay. So can I have a move, please? Councillor Clayton, seconder, Councillor Quinn, and all those in favour? Against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Okay, I would like to formally close the meeting. Thank you very much, councillors.